The best team in England, the team that is racing on for the quadruple, the team that has done more things than any other winning Premier League team has ever done. The best losers in the Premier League, and by far the best attacking trio in the Premier League for the past 6 to 8 years. Is now a team that could barely beat Bournemouth after beating Manchester United 7-0. I'm still bitter for that. Now, when you ask a person who's recently been watching the Premier League, they will tell you with immense amount of passion that the three best teams in England are Manchester City, Liverpool, and Arsenal. Maybe even Tottenham. I don't know. Weird things have happened this year. But with those three teams, you see three teams who've won an amount of seven Premier League trophies between them, six Carabao trophies, and one Champions League. Yes, Liverpool is the only team amongst those three to win a Champions League. I'm stressing this fact immensely. But with that, you tend to agree with that person because, I mean, the two teams out of those three always compete for the Premier League and have been there. They have been at the top of the summit. Even when they haven't won the Premier League, they still break records. As Liverpool were the best second place finishers with 98 points. They had more points than Arsenal's invincible season. And they have done that not once, but twice in the Premier League season. And if you want to go down to 80, between 86 and 96, they've done that three times in the space of three seasons. They have been consistent performers. They have been in a stage where they're considered a team to beat and the team that every team should be for. They should be aiming for. They had the best coach, the best system, the best players, the best way to buy players, and by far the best buy player, the best profits amongst all these other clubs. Whereas Manchester United was spending 100 million on midfielders, Liverpool were spending small amounts of money, such as buying up Naby Keita, by getting Thiago on a free, Jordan Henderson for less than 20 million, Mohamed Salah for less than 30 million, and Sadio Mane for less than 10 million. And yet all those players helped them win the Premier League and the Champions League and give them beautiful and yet memorable moments, as Liverpool fans would attest to that. Liverpool were never that team that would go out there and buy a flashy player or go out there and get the hype player or the favor of the month for that season. And they are always good at picking the players that they buy, whether it is academy players or players that will go straight into the first team. They were so good at finding those gems that were never ever considered to be players that will be bought by other clubs. All the players like Virgil van Dijk were chosen over Harry Maguire for Manchester United. Still don't know how we have to actually fumble that bag. They picked him up for well and truly almost 80 million. But comparing the same price that they bought for Maguire, it is a sheer amount. It is at the great that 78 million can be forgiven for Liverpool for buying such a such a good defender, as he was pivotal in their two seasons when they were dominating in the Premier League. And you see other players like Andrew Robertson, who was bought from a relegated club, by the way, in Hull City for less than 20 million again. And he and the academy graduate, Trent Alexander-Arnold, became the best fullbacks in the Premier League for the past 4 or 5 years even. They were the stepping stones for the best attacking fullback system in the Premier League, and were considered to be the Hail Mary of all fullbacks in the Premier League, especially with Trent Alexander-Arnold's vision and creative passes, as with Andrew Robertson's workhorse mentality, as he could run from front to back and back to front every single time in the game without even getting tired, with the man at the helm, the man who literally had a calamity season before joining Liverpool at Borussia Dortmund in Jurgen Klopp. You see a manager that became one of the best in Germany, but as well as giving Borussia Dortmund their only title, their recent title wins in 2010 and 2011, well as reaching the Champions League final. They had like I said, a calamity season at the end, as they finished 11th, or was it 7th, in the Bundesliga table, as that they called it, which has now been considered as Jurgen Klopp's seventh season syndrome, which sort of attacked Liverpool, but I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll talk about that later on down the line. But as they got him for a sheer purpose of competing with the clubs that were dominating at the time in England. Teams like Arsenal, who are always top four contenders together with Tottenham, teams like Manchester United and Man City competing for the Premier League title, with Man United prevailing every single step of the way. You had teams that were coming up in the division, teams that were sort of stepping now on Liverpool and making them look more mediocre than they were even in that same period. With Brendan Rodgers, who was brought in to win the same with the same thing of winning the Premier League, but as well as his all the other predecessors completely failed and decided to sanction a 30 million or 40 million pound transfer for Andy Carroll. You are when Jurgen was joining that club at the time, you would see it as a normal mid-table club buying a mid-table player. I mean, a mid-table coach who was just mediocre in the Farmers League, as they call as the Bundesliga has been referred to. But apart from a shaky first start of the season where he barely even reached the top four, since the 2014-15 season, Liverpool have always finished in the top four and have competed in the Champions League and have become more competitive in the Premier League, as becoming trending from a mediocre top four team, mediocre top 10 team, to a team that is constantly competing for the Premier League title, dethroning Manchester United as one of the top contenders in England to win the Premier League, and at the same time seeing a. I'll talk to you later. My dad's here. What a beautiful time lapse. I don't even remember most of the shit I was saying. But you do. Henceforth, you are going to remember where I ended. And if you want to tell me where I ended, it would be nice for you to subscribe because, memory works with you subscribe. You get it? Yeah. Now, what I remember what I was talking about is that Liverpool, I was talking about how Liverpool was different from the others and how getting Jurgen Klopp was the start of being the difference between all other clubs. Jurgen Klopp was to Liverpool as the Infinity Stones were to Thanos, the end all be all. He was the man that would take them from the mediocrity to success in the coming years, which we all know happened. But at the time, no one really predicted that that would happen. They just thought it would be another Brendan Rodgers, picking him from an obscure league and putting him in one of the biggest jobs in the league in England. And a lot that came with a lot of skepticism as he decided to play a different system when it came to a lot of Premier League managers at the time. You see, at the time, I'm forgetting something. That's why I keep fucking up my jokes. I'm forgetting that this is Mr. Shades, even in darkness. Now, that was it was evident that he was going to be the different manager of everyone else by implementing the Gegenpress system. Now, a lot of managers have come to the Premier League, even after Jurgen Klopp, to try and change how English players or how the English game is played in England. And they have been met with a lot of skepticism, saying that this is not how football is played, calling every single tactic that isn't the English way or the England way a boring mess that is mashed up together, which is being disguised as football. When their literal system, the 4-2-3-1 or the 4-2-3-1 is a flawed but boring ass system. It relies on one striker. It doesn't allow wingers to be free. It has no wingers. And when it comes to defending, the striker and the players that are up front do not come back to defend. But in a Jurgen Klopp system or a German Gegenpress system, everyone participates, whether you're a striker or you're the left back. You all have to come in and press for the ball. The pressing starts from up top, and it kind of leads that if it passes the first line of defense, it is always taken by fast running box to box midfielders and inverted wingers inverted fullbacks to come inside and get the ball from inside. It doesn't rely on a player waiting for the ball to come to him. It relies on the player giving the pressure right to you and throwing every single shit he can throw at you so that he can piss you off, scare you, and make you make a bad pass. Henceforth, his teammate gets the ball, and it's a smooth transition up forward where you've got one pass from the left back to the left winger, and the left winger thenceforth creates space by either dribbling or one touch play and finds himself at the edge of the box. Now, if that winger is very good at shooting, it's either a shooting chance for him or it is a chance to make an inverted, an inverted through ball, yes. That will lead the striker with a great option to shoot and directly score. That is how the gegenpress should be done. And I think you hearing that, imagine you do that once, right? That is very tiring. Imagine doing that for 90 minutes constantly for the past 7 years, for the next 7 years. That was the future for a lot of Liverpool players. Henceforth, there was a mass exodus. And not only that, it was also apparent that he didn't want to work with a Andy Carroll or Daniel Sturridge. Henceforth, he binned them off, found his own players, and implemented his own little scouting system as he did in Germany. As with German clubs, they don't always flock out and go buy the superstar that is in the other league or that is in the other league. They rely on the players that are being kept in their league themselves, just playing for middle or bottom club teams, or even in the second division of the Bundesliga. That is where players like Marco Reus was found when he was bought from Borussia Mönchengladbach and moved to Borussia Dortmund after being in the Borussia Dortmund's academy, but then, moved to Borussia Mönchengladbach because he was neglected, but then Jurgen Klopp decided to do a 180 on that. Does that make sense? Because that's where a lot of shit doesn't make sense. That's where you find Bayern Munich never have to spend money on buying players outside of their league, and they just buy the players that are already in their league for cheap or for free, with Robert Lewandowski being a pivotal and most important example of good business. They tempted. They give the aspect of Champions League football, winning the German league, playing the number 9 position that was famously played by Gerd Müller, one of the best German strikers in the entire Bundesliga generation. And giving that to an up-and-coming striker is something that he's not going to refuse. The idea of being a superstar without even having to not even have to not even have to struggle in fitting in the new club or in the new system or in the new country, because he's already used to the league and to the players and to the climate and all that. Henceforth, it is an easy walk in the park move. That is why. And then when you compare that purchase with someone like Andy Carroll to Liverpool, for example, as much as it was similar situations, you could tell that Andy Carroll would not fit in a system that is. And wait, sorry, scratch all what I've said. That is nonsense. What I'm trying to say is, with the two strikers, they were bought in the same exact situations. The striker was already in the league, he was already known, and he was an up and coming English talent. Whereas with Robert Lewandowski, he was a Pole who was already seen as one of the deadliest strikers in Europe, while scoring a hat-trick for Borussia Dortmund against Real Madrid, dragging them to the Champions League final, helping them win one of the only Bundesliga trophies, scoring a buttload of goals for them in the league. But what still needed that next step into actual GOAT status, because as much as Marco Reus is considered to us as one of one of the best, I feel if he also was given such a tempting move and he accepted, we would consider Marco Reus to be the best German player in the world. He would be on par with Mesut Ozil and Toni Kroos when it comes to superstardom. And that is what Robert Lewandowski, without taking the move to Bayern, would be Marco Reus. So that striker, watching him for free, right? And with Liverpool having to pay almost 50 million in today's money, in fact, almost 70 million in today's money for Andy Carroll, you could tell that the club before Klopp was an absolute shit show compared to the club that is that the club did to the after club. You know, there's like a before club and an after club. Before club, they were spending 70 million in today's money on Andy Carroll. After club, they were spending close to 7 million for one of the best African players in the world in Sadio Mane, and picking Mo Salah from the obscurity of AS Roma and managing to get him at almost a free bargain deal. So, with that being said, you get to see that Liverpool was not only changing on the pitch and changing in mentality, it was also changing in personnel and in players and how players were going to be bought in due course. So why the hell am I saying Liverpool have failed, or why is the title of this video Liverpool have failed in what they wanted to achieve? Because this is a system that you want to have forever. Like Bayern Munich. Have you ever heard Bayern Munich buying a player for more than 60 odd million just so that he can play in their league? No, that hasn't happened. It would never happen. It has never happened, and we're guaranteed it will never happen because it is the Bayern way. It is their Bayern mentality. Every single player in the Mia, every single president, every single managing director, every single director of sports that have been at Bayern Munich and that will be at Bayern Munich will find a system that doesn't accommodate purchasing superstars for a large sums of money, even though they can. Bayern can buy a they can pay a fee for what Barca paid for Coutinho. They could pay 30 or 70 million for they could have paid 70 million for Callum Hudson-Odoi if they really wanted him. They could have paid so much money for Leroy Sané before even the injury part. They would have paid so much money for Goretzka, they would have paid so much money for all these other players. They would have bought Ronaldo and put him on 6 or 7 or even 800,000 euro wages. They can do that. They can have PSG's entire wage system into their input in their own system, plus all the wages that they already have, and they will still survive. They can do that, but they don't because that is not their way. But with Liverpool, their way was always obscured to buying players. That is a way that is in England. England don't rely on their own academy graduates. Look at Manchester City, right? They spent 100 million on Jack Grealish. They had to buy Sterling for almost 60 million in today's money. They had to buy so many of these players when they had them in their academy. Instead of Jack Grealish, they would have had Jadon Sancho. Without on that end, you want the third option for Foden, or you want the third option for Riyad Mahrez. What about Bodo Glittens? Where is he at? Borussia Dortmund. He was in their academy. They had him in their academy. They would have had a stream lineup. There are a lot of players who could have come up the system that we don't even know about that could play the system that Pep wants or that this Manchester City would want, but they don't do that. They just buy and pray that they work. They just go out there, as much as they make smart business in their own self, they just go out there and still buy when they have them in their academy. Same with Manchester United. For fuck's sake, how is it normal for you this year you buy a winger for 98 million, right, in Jadon Sancho, and the next season you decide to pay 100 million for Anthony, another winger? Are you dumb? You would have used fucking Green. Okay, I swear, like, it's not their fault that Greenwood decided to rape his girlfriend, allegedly. But it's like, you could have just found someone in your academy because it looks like we have good players in our academy. Greenwood came from our academy. Look how good he was for those 2.5 seasons he was playing for Manchester United. At some point, he was the top scorer for Manchester United. Even when he was in prison and wasn't playing, he was still top scorer for Manchester United. That's how good he was. We have Alejandro Garnacho, another good winger from the academy. We have Zidane Iqbal from the academy. We have Shola Sholatere from the academy. So all these players are from the academy. We don't need to buy out players from the other states. But the problem is that England rely on buying people and think that's how football is. Every single club, fucking Bournemouth wanted to buy Zaniolo for 50 million. Fucking Southampton have spent more money, right, than teams like Union Berlin, who is in the Europa League, Eintracht Frankfurt, who are Europa League winners, by the way, and so many other Italian clubs. They have so much. They've spent more in the past 10 years than what Bayern have spent in this exact same period. That is so stupid. Look at Chelsea's wage bill and compare it to Champions League winning Bayern Munich, right? Or current Champions League winners Real Madrid. Compare their wage bills. It is so fucking. It is miles apart. You want to tell a team, if you want to tell how best the team is, judging by just wages alone, Chelsea would be better than Real fucking Madrid. You see how dumb that sounds. But then, but with Jurgen Klopp, right? He came into Liverpool to change the system, to change the mentality, to change the recruitment system, to change everything. Because that way is not sustainable. Look at Reading, look at Derby, look at fucking Barry, all these clubs that were Bolton, that were playing in the Premier League not long before I was born. They were playing week in, week out, finishing 8th and 16th in between, right? In the Premier League. They were Premier League regulars. And look at them. So one of those clubs don't even fucking exist. You see, it's because of the money that they kept on spending. They had to spend to compete. That's not how a league is supposed to be. Look at Union Berlin. Union Berlin, the players that they brought after losing players like Max Kruse and the like, they were brought them for less than altogether less than how much Harry Maguire costs. And look at them. They are literally in a title race. Look at fucking Napoli. They brought in Kavisha Kavagas. Shit, I can't pronounce his name. I can't pronounce his name. This Georgian legend, right? The literal Cavaradonna. In fact, I'm gonna call him that for now on. Cavaradonna. They bought him for less than 7 million, and he's the best winger around in the league. He's providing more assists for Osimhen, who was also a cheap player that they bought. And look at all around. They lost important players like Khalidou Koulibaly and replaced him with Kim, right? And Kim is a beast. Do you know how much they paid for him? He costs less than Anthony Rudiger. He costs less than Sergio Ramos. He costs less than fucking Maguire. And you're telling me with transfer market and shit that Maguire is better than Kim? That is the thing. All these teams around the league, as besides England, are more sustainable and are more capable of handling their wages and of handling their finances without fucking blowing up in the next 5 years. Have you ever heard of a club in the Bundesliga that has been put in administration because they don't have money to sustain the club? Have you ever heard of a team in the Bundesliga ever have financial issues, ever break financial fair play, ever fucking even know what their financial fair play is? Of course, they have a different system than England. I should put that into perspective, that England are, you can buy a club in England easy than in the Bundesliga. The Bundesliga is a 50+1 majority. It is most of the clubs are fan owned. I think the only club that is owned by like an actual corporation is Red Bull Leipzig or Rasenball Leipzig. So yes, there is that, but that doesn't mean that those clubs cannot spend crazy like the way other clubs in the league, in the Premier League, can spend. They can they can throw 70 million at someone, they can throw 100 million at someone, but they don't do that because that is not right. Henceforth, Jurgen, well, I keep going on tangents, but I'm making a point here. Jurgen came in and changed the system, but it's so hard to change the outlook of a club just by coming in and doing it firsthand. That's why I'm still skeptical with trusting uh, Derek Ten Hag for Manchester United. I feel like it's going to be very hard to stop in purchases, crazy purchases, playing playing players because they are favorites. I mean, this season, of course, you've seen him drop Rashford, who was in form, just because he was late for like 5 or 7 minutes. But in the future, players are going to start throwing tantrums at him. Look how he failed. Look what happened with Ronaldo, for example. Ronaldo left because of the issues he had with Ten Hag. We will be losing players because of their issues with a manager, because the manager is trying to be tough. As much as you're supposed to be tough to show that you're the boss, there's a difference between keeping a group of people disciplined and ruling over a group of people. I feel like Ten Hag should find a fine line for that, and I think he should take lessons from a man. He said eras come and they go, even though we lost to Liverpool and Manchester City an aggregate score of fucking 11-3. Jurgen is the manager that found the balance between having an egotistic, having a team, a group of players, having a group of players and having a team. He found a group of players, and by the end of it, he made a team. He has made a team, but that team is now failing to be a team. It's slowly becoming a group of players. You see players who you see him sort of now, as much as he's managed to hold on for 6 or 7 years straight without spending a lot in the transfer market or buying high players or buying players that are performing very good in obscure in the Portuguese leagues or in the Tanzanian leagues or the Belgian leagues, that what more like the way we most likely always fall for that one player that always underwhelms, like the way they avoided buying Joao Felix from Benfica when he was wanted by literally everyone, and Atletico now really it's like they don't even want him. Selling Philippe Coutinho, which was a step in the right direction, and it showed what Jurgen wants for his players. When a player comes to you as a manager, you're supposed to allow him to leave. If he wants to leave, he can leave, but he should leave with a positive note. This point doesn't make any sense. I'm thinking about it. I'm reading my point in my head. It doesn't make any sense. But, for example, right? I'm going to say this again. Remember how Barca got a huge check from Neymar after he left for 220 million? Remember how it almost like completely finished in the same window he was sold? Because they bought Philippe Coutinho, Ousmane Dembele, and fucking like fucking Vidal. Who else did they buy? I don't know, but with just those three players, it literally added up to almost the exact same amount that they sold Neymar for. But with Liverpool, they received a huge chunk from the Philippe Coutinho sale. And to my knowledge, oh, of course not to my knowledge, everyone's knowledge, they didn't go out and buy another player because, I mean, at the time, the high player was Ousmane Dembele. They would have beat Barca to Ousmane Dembele. They would have just done like, okay, Barca money is here, straight to Borussia Dortmund. But no, they didn't buy him. They just, relaxed. That's what I'm talking about when he said he came in and changed the system. But just recently, we've seen him fall susceptible to the England curse, as I'm referring to it. Because I'm tired of explaining the whole thing as a sentence. I'm just going to say it as the England curse. The England curse. The England curse is, if you want to if you want to go back, because in fact, for watch time, you should go back. But in summary, the English curse is buy players that are hyped. That's the English system. That's the English curse. He fell susceptible to the English curse, as he bought not one but two hype players that were basically doing the most in leagues that are not even considered top 5 in Europe. And look how it almost bit him in the butt. Yes, they're now working, but imagine if it was an Anthony situation or a Richarlison where he hasn't even fucking scored a goal. But we've never seen Jurgen buy such a player. As much as it has worked, we don't see him do that. He buys players that he knows It's going to work. Look at, like I said, Andy Robertson is a very good example. The guy got fucking relegated, for fuck's sake. He was in the same team with Harry Maguire. They were the same defense. That got relegated from the Premier League. And he bought him. And of course, he wasn't a hit. He wasn't a hit in the beginning. He was trash. He was terrible for like 1.5 seasons, and then finally picked off in the second half of his second season. Players that are bought for less than 5 or 10 million are allowed. I mean, they're never criticized for being shit because they were bought for that much money. But look at the way Nunez was criticized. The moment he stepped in England, the moment he decided that the moment I'm going to eat shepherd's pie, or I'm going to wave to the queen, shit, she's dead. I'm going to wave to the king. Wait, no, the queen was alive at that time. I'm going to wave to the queen and say, Mashallah, my brother. That would probably put him in prison. But you see that he was criticized and he was fucking looked at. He was looked at. Like, eyes were all over him. Why? Because he was bought for 80 million, which could rise up to 100 million. But Benfica are fucking smart, I swear. But anyway, like, you saw that kerfuffle. You saw another kerfuffle with Gakpo, who, yes, scored a brace against my team. Fuck you. Anyway, you saw how he almost became 007. And don't forget, Nunez was Mr. 007 for a couple of minutes. In fact, he was going to 0010. But still, you never saw that with Andrew Robertson when he was bought. You never saw that with Kyle Walker-Peters at Southampton. You never saw that with a lot of purchases that were bought for less than 10 million. And with a lot of purchases that were bought by Jurgen Klopp. You never saw any shitstorm when Mo Salah went on a terrible season. Of course, his first season was good, but when he went on a tantrum, wait, shit, what did he do? No, Mo Salah, fucking Sadio Mane. When Sadio Mane was in a not in a scoring mood, you never saw any criticism on him because he wasn't important. He wasn't a star, and he wasn't an important player for the team he was playing against or playing for, Southampton. So with that was Jurgen, but no, Jurgen now looks like he wants to buy every single hype player. Linked with Jude Bellingham. Fucking Bellingham is another example of a player not supposed to buy. You're not supposed. Why spend 120 million on a midfielder? Midfielders are not supposed to fucking score. What the fuck? Modric was way better than Jude Bellingham at his age. And you never heard anyone say, oh, we're going to buy Modric for 120 odd million. No. Do you know why? Because he wasn't a hype player. Jude is a fucking hype player. He's the literal epitome of a hype player. Look at how Man City shot themselves in the foot by buying a DM that can't even play in fucking Calvin Phillips. Look how they spent 50 million on that, and the guy hasn't even made 6 consecutive appearances for Manchester City. The guy plays more for England than he does for Manchester City. And you get to see that Jurgen is falling into the trap that he was trying to drag Liverpool out of. And that's why I'm saying that as much as he has been regarded as the best manager since Sir, I'm so sorry, Liverpool, I don't know your best, but I can't mention that guy's name from the top of my head. Why do I make football videos? Why do I make why am I making a fight? This is why research is important. Don't go off the top of your head. Advice, kids. You want to talk about something? Don't go off the top of your head. You're not that smart. Trust me. You're not. You're not. You're an idiot. You need to research. You need to read. You need to make notes. You need to read off a script. You're an idiot. You're dumb. Now back to the video. Now, you get to see that a lot of Liverpool fans consider Jurgen Klopp the best manager they've ever had, but he is slowly but surely failing at what he wanted to do, or what I think he wanted to do at Liverpool, and what he consistently was doing for 6 years. In that, avoiding buying stupid players or stupid transfers and rather focus on players that you're definitely 100% sure and that you've actually scouted and seen for yourself that what people haven't seen. Because they've failed to they've avoided English tax. They've avoided the hype tax, but they are slowly but surely getting sucked into those mini curses that lead to the big one, in that the English curse. I'm saying English because I know a lot of you are English and you don't say English, you say English for some reason. I think England, English. Yeah, you don't say English, but we're taught English in school. That's why I'm saying he as much as Jurgen Klopp has done what no manager has in ever any team, not even Pep. Pep Pep is another story. If you want that video, be sure to comment it down in the description. Be sure to comment if you want me to talk about Pep like this. This is probably going to be like an hour. I hope it's been recording. Okay, it's been recorded. I was going to cry. But yeah, this is probably going to be a 30 or 40-minute video. Yeah, if you want something, if you want me to talk about Pep Guardiola's Manchester City or Mauricio Pochettino's miracle at Tottenham, or even what Eric Ten Hag could do at Manchester United, be sure to say it down in the comments if you want any of those videos. Subscribe to the channel because I'm going to do that, whether you tell me or not. I am going to do that. I am going to do that. Look at me. I'm going to do that. I swear to you. Mm. In conclusion, Liverpool were the power horses. Liverpool were shit. Jurgen Klopp came in. They became power horses, but they decided to fall back off the values they wanted to implement, and seriously failed to avoid the English curse. This is your boy, TWG, aka Shades, even in darkness. I'll see you all when I put on these shades again.